Hi there, and welcome to the daily vlog of Dr. Jack Vilas, chiropractor in Omaha, Nebraska. Today, I am going to talk to you about stress and how it affects your health. So many people come in and just cannot understand how being stressed out affects their health. They see it happening. They realize that people who are stressed tend to be sicker on average than people that aren't quite so stressed, but they don't understand the connection. So that's what I'm here to do today, is to kind of give you some insight into that connection, at least one aspect of it, and we'll go from there. So first we're going to start out with a couple of graphs that I want to show you just for examples, and go from there. Okay, for those of you who bothered to listen to the first episode of this series, we went over and explained about how this is a normal graph. Basically, this is a graph that measures the function of the nerve system. And you'll see the white bars. That means that everything is normal. If any of them were green, that would show that there was a problem. Blue, it's more severe. Red, it's a lot worse, and if there's any black ones, it kind of means that they went off the chart. So when we're talking about stress, there's three different types of stress that you have to consider. You've got physical stress, which is like car accident or falling out of a tree. You've got chemical stress, which is if you're working in like an industrial environment, you can be breathing in a lot of fumes, or maybe you're not eating a great diet, or possibly you're taking some medications or other mind-altering type of things that might not be legal. That can all cause stress in the chemical sense. The last one is mental emotional stress. So just to kind of give you a quick example, here is the results of that test for somebody that was in a car accident. So that's a physical stress. And you can tell there's reds that are pretty significant, and so are the blues. Whoops. So that right there is somebody that's had some, fairly significant physical stress. But let me show you somebody that has some very chronic mental emotional stress. And we're talking about somebody that's lived with it for years and years. That right there represents what somebody can come in looking like if they have had a tremendous amount of mental emotional stress, sometimes over years. You can tell the black lines right there. If we go and read some of the numbers, if you see star dot star on the end there, those are numbers that are over 100, so the computer couldn't even pick those up. Most of those numbers are in the 70s and 80s. There's a couple in the 20s. And you'll see the other side of numbers over there. So we've just got a tremendous amount of problems in this spine here. Now, this person doesn't necessarily know that they have something from the physical standpoint. Basically, what has happened is they're coming in, they're sickly, they tend to get sick often. They have a very difficult time falling asleep. This person does, and they just feel very stressed out. But as far as moving their neck, moving their back, they don't really feel any impediments in that. Now, they can crack their back quite often. Just by kind of twisting and moving themselves, they can feel their back popping, but they don't necessarily feel any pain associated with the back. Now, how does this happen? Well, this right here is a little example of how the back vertebrae looks like. And actually what I'm going to do is pause this and get you a little better view here so I can explain it to you easier. Okay, this is the model that we were talking about, and you can see this is just a normal vertebrae. It's of the lower back, but all the vertebrae are pretty much the same. You've got the body of the vertebrae, which is what transfers all of the weight above it down to the pelvis. In between two bodies, you have a disc. It's gel-like substance in the middle surrounded by cartilage. It kind of acts like a water balloon, so when the pressure comes down, that water balloon expands, it absorbs the shock. Directly behind that column, you'll see there's a spinal cord that's kind of sitting in there, and the spinal cord goes straight down all the way, just literally hangs down from the brain and just goes all the way down through the tunnel of bone there. And then at each level, it shoots off a little nerve, and these nerves kind of give the information from that part of the body. And then directly behind that, you'll see these bumps right here. These are the bumps that you feel on your back. So we're talking about something that's way far in your back here. That's the bumps that you're feeling. So it gives you a position where it is. Well, sometimes what will happen is the vertebrae will get out of line and they will pinch the nerve, and you can kind of tell that a little bit. And I'm over dramatizing this, but this is what happens when you pop a vertebrae back into place. And there's a lot of chiropractors that perform that type of thing and very successfully and do a great job. And by opening up that nerve, what you're doing is opening up your body's own ability to heal itself. Sometimes, however, tension will build up on the spinal cord, and I'm just going to show you again. This is not the greatest example, but watch what happens to this nerve right here when I put tension on it. Do you feel how when I place tension on that spinal cord, that nerve just kind of gets pulled onto the bone right there? There you go. See, by that tension on the bone, and you can imagine, 3 or 4 or 5 columns up, by putting tension on that bone, all of those nerves are going to be pulled onto the bones there. So that would give you a really good reason for having all of these segments in there having problems with the nerves, but yet not necessarily having any problem with the movement of the bones, because the bones themselves are not out of line. There's so much tension on that spinal cord that it's pulling the nerves onto the bone and creating interference with the way the nervous system is able to function. And so this is very often how people will get sick, because again, those nerves are what the body uses to control all of the healing. So your immune system or aches and pains, things like that, all of that stuff is run by the nerves. So if you've got all those nerves being contracted because of that tension on the spinal cord, it's going to cause a problem with the flow of the nerves, and the body will not be able to do the healing that it wants to do on a regular, every day by day basis. So that right there is a great example, and it's not the only example, but it's one very good example of how the nervous system can impair and affect your health directly. And so what my profession will do is we will go and try to alleviate that problem. If it was a problem because the bones were out of place, we could adjust the vertebrae. We'd push the vertebrae back into place. If it's because there's tension on the spinal cord, and so this right here would be a great example of where you've got vertebrae out of place. You can tell there's some areas that have problems, got some areas that don't have really many problems. Those are areas that need to be kind of pushed back into place. But when you have an area like this and you don't have the associated pain where vertebrae would be out of place, that would give you a reason why all these black lines are there, that could simply be coming from too much tension. And that is one of the things that this particular office really specializes in. We do a technique called network spinal analysis, which allows us to actually go in and get the tension off of the spinal cord, which is a pretty cool thing. So we do that with just light, gentle touches, no real cracking or popping or anything like that. But if we can alleviate the tension off of that nervous system, then we can free up those nerves and then unleash the most amazing healing power that man knows of, which is that healing power right inside your body. So that right there is my introduction as to how stress can affect the health of an individual. Tomorrow we'll go into a little bit more about how stress can affect other areas of your body also. So that's it for this edition of the Daily V by Dr. Jack B. I hope you have enjoyed it. Look us up on Facebook at Dr. Jack Bielitz, or go to our website at livehealthyomaha.com, or you can check us out on Instagram at Dr. Jack B. That's Dr. Jack and then B-E-E. Anyway, have a very beautiful and healthy day, and I'll see you in the next episode.